And so it's so refreshing to have that extra like superpower using AI, because it's honestly the next level of chat, right? I think everyone's used to ChatGPT now, used to having it write emails and do things like that. These are actual tasks that AI is performing for you. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Explain This. I'm with my friend Carlos Rios, and today we're going to talk about one of our favorite new hacks that we learned with AI, and it's called Cowork, and it's part of the Anthropic Claude system. So, Carlos, what is Claude Cowork?
Yeah, so Claude Cowork is one of the three different tools, right, built into Claude for the desktop. So you've got chat, Cowork, and code, and most people get stuck in chat and they don't ever touch Cowork, and rarely do they touch code. And so we're going to be focusing on Cowork, right? But the point of Cowork really is a little bit different from all those other ones. Everybody's kind of experienced chat with ChatGPT. Developers and people that are a little bit more hands-on have experienced code. But Cowork is meant to be kind of the middleman for people that are not as tech savvy, that do, in their words, that do knowledge work. So anyone that works in spreadsheets, anyone that works in Word docs, anyone that works in, Figma files or stuff like that, that's where Claude Cowork comes into play. And so in my experience, the way that I've used Claude Cowork has been to do a lot of organization. I know you've done that as well, Daniel. But the first thing that I used it for was actually a project where I organized photos for my wife's photography business. And I know I've mentioned that to you, but it was basically we had a process where we had to download edited photos off the internet, and then we had to bring them onto a hard drive, rearrange them to mimic the hard drive that we have here locally. So we just, a little bit into our process, we store everything by year, then we store it by client name, and then by type of shoot. And so it's like, Brittany C, that's the client. The year's 2026, and then inside of Brittany C, we'll have like the name of the shoot. So whether it's an engagement shoot or a wedding shoot, anything like that. So what we had to do was we had Claude Cowork. First, we used Claude to download everything, and then we had Cowork go in there and organize it to mimic the raw files that we have on our here on our home hard drive. But yeah, if you want to get into a little bit about what Claude has to say about Cowork, or what Anthropic has to say, we can get into that.
I
So
think I think a really good starting point is, I remember the first time I heard about it, I could not find it. Like, how do you
yeah,
get to Claude Cowork?
yeah. So it's kind of up there hidden. I know they used to have it right like in the middle of the screen, didn't they? And now it's like in the sidebar. So if you look at the sidebar on the top left corner, you should see chat, and then Cowork, and then code. And so it's the one right in the middle. That's the one that we're talking about here.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think just to clarify really quickly, one of the things that I was kind of messing up on was I was using Claude within like a Chrome tab, and you have like to
yeah,
get to code and Cowork, you have to have the app on your desktop. And so
yeah,
if you don't download Cowork into your desktop and you're not using like the actual app within your Mac or PC or whatever, then you don't see that tab. On the actual Chrome browser, you only see the chat function of it.
yeah. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that, but the desktop apps are required to use any of those. So you can actually use code without the desktop app, but it's kind of a more of a headache to install it. Cowork, it's just not available anywhere else. So that's a good point. I think if you want to kind of get into how we use Cowork, or sort of what it looks like, the first thing that I've noticed is that everything in Cowork has to be a project. So when you're using Claude with the chat section, everything is just a chat. It looks like Chat GPT. Everything's just a little thread. You click on that. There's you click on one on the sidebar, and it opens up the thread for you. But with Cowork, everything is stored into projects, which are essentially folders for the given project, right? The thing that I found really useful with Cowork was actually the fact not so much that it runs on your computer, but the fact that you can give it instructions. So if you're, in my case, I'm a web developer, I edit a lot of websites. So one of the things that I do is I will put the credentials for the website in the instructions panel that they have there, and that will help me to whenever I spin up a new task for it, I don't have to go in there and copy and paste it. I don't have to log in for Claude. It can open that up in something called the Chrome MCP, which we can talk about later. But it can open it up and then log into those websites and actually make changes on them. So that's one thing that I use it for. The other thing is like you can tell it, I'm dealing this project has to deal with emails. I want to sound a certain way, don't use certain words, address the client in certain ways, specific ways. Don't ever call them bro, don't ever call them boss, right? Like call them sir or call them whatever you want to call them. So you can give those instructions to Cowork in the same way that you would any sort of skill or any sort of markdown file, and it'll read through those instructions every time you start a new chat inside of a project. So yeah, it's very useful when you're working on something that is local for the most part, but also you can use it to do things like I mentioned it before, which is logging into a website, making changes to a website. So it's not strictly limited to working locally. That
I
makes
think
sense.
one of the things that I kind of explain to people is that it it's like giving AI your computer. You kind of
Yeah,
just, here's my computer, take over, knock some stuff out for me. And that's really, I think initially when I got onto, like, I was not sure when to use chat, when to use Cowork, and when to use code. And now the way I wrap my brain around it is, what is a task where AI would need to use my computer? And that's when I'm in the Cowork channel. And so I remember one of the first very successful use cases I had was, I was editing a video for work, and I was kind of in a hurry. And honestly, when I'm editing videos, I'm not very organized, and I'm always downloading version one. I don't like it, version two, version three, and so it starts chewing up a lot of my hard drive space. And so in my downloads folder, I'll have tons of different videos with different versions, different projects over time. And I tried to export a video in CapCut, and it said, you don't have enough space. And right away, I just felt like melting, because I just thought about how much time it was going to take for me to go through my desktop, find which videos to delete, which videos to keep. And it was honestly kind of annoying and stressful when I didn't have time at that time. I was about to walk into a meeting, and I said, you know what? Let me see if Cowork can handle this. So I opened up Cowork and just kind of explained quickly, I don't have enough space to edit this video, to download this video. And I really need you to look through my videos, organize them from the smallest to the biggest, see which videos are duplicates, give me a report on how much space I'm eating up with all these videos, and help me free up some space. And I just let it run while I was in my other meeting. And I came back to my computer. I had a full Excel sheet full of all my videos. And initially it said, Daniel, your first major win is you have 48 gigs in your trash can, that if you empty your trash can, you'll clear up enough space immediately. And it literally took me to right click my trash can, empty trash, problem was solved. And then I had my list of videos. And I was blown away, because I I had my AI Claude working while I was doing something else, and I wasn't occupying my computer at the time, and it was working in the background. And so I was so excited that I had unlocked this new trick.
yeah. Have you tried setting it up with like not to throw it too far off, but have you tried setting it up with something like Gmail as well? Because
Oh,
that would be
definitely.
another, yeah, that'd be another area, right, where you can have it just
Oh,
like clean up things, right? So
oh, yeah. And I think back with the Gmail thing, once you start plugging in connectors and you go to like the next level of Cowork, you plug it into your Gmail and you ask it, go through all my emails and find all the emails where Carlos and I are talking about, XYZ. and it combs through your emails, finds it, gives you a report, catches you up on all your threads, tells you what attachments were there. I mean, it's another set of hands. It's another set of working hands that can do stuff within your email, within your Google Drive, within your desktop. I mean, I think a very simple one of the first ones I did was organize my desktop. I
Yeah.
had I had so many screenshots and so many stupid things across my desktop, and it was frustrating to me. And I set that. I mean, it's the whole set it and forget it. Like I set it, worked on other things, came back, and my desktop was organized. And then it asks you questions too, like what do you want to do with these files? Hey, there's duplicates of these. Do you want to keep them all or delete them, or keep the oldest version or the newest version? And so it's so refreshing to have that extra like superpower using AI, because it's honestly the next level of chat, right? I think everyone's used to chat GPT now, used to having it write emails and do things like that. These are actual tasks that AI is performing for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is like it goes back to the whole idea that you and I have been talking about, where AI is getting to the point where it can actually take action within the systems that we're already using. And then forget about changing it because it's going to change that too. But right now, it's able to work within our computer and our Gmail and our, whatever tools it is, Photoshop, right? Obsidian. Um, that's where something like Cowork is quick. It's easy to set up. It's not something that's very difficult that someone that's maybe not so tech savvy couldn't set up. And that I've really set up a lot of connectors myself because I just haven't tried it. I use Claude to help me out with certain emails. If I have an email come in, one classic email that I get, man, is like I'll get an email from a client and it's super long, and a lot of it is just them kind of telling me about how things are going, or a little bit about the weekend or things like that. And so it's not that those things aren't important, but I try to extract deliverables from that. And so I'll use a skill within, I have an email project within Cowork that specifically uses a skill that I developed that will help to kind of pull out deliverables from an email so that I can read it, I can give them a response, but a lot of times it's hard to figure out what it is that I need to do. And kind of in the support world that I live in, that's like extremely important to be able to take an email and say, this is what we're going to do with it. So I use Cowork for that all the time. I haven't set up a whole bunch of connectors, but I do use the MCPs a lot, and I know that that's just kind of another connector. So maybe with if we're developing a website from a Figma file or something like that, we'll use the Figma MCP, and it will pull that in and be able to kind of understand a Figma file so that it can turn it into an actual HTML document with CSS and JavaScript and all of that stuff.
I
Yeah.
think I think our users are going to quickly, or not our users, our listeners or our watchers are going to quickly realize that Carlos is like on the next level of technology, talking about MCPs and skills and all kinds of other stuff. I think honestly for the common folk, Carlos, like normal people like myself, um, we I think that the best thing you can do is like number one, chewing through emails, right? Like
Yeah.
that's very it's very cumbersome. And I think honestly, like the Google Gmail search sucks. Like you
Yeah.
you can search for a
So,
specific email with like exact words within the title and the date, and it'll give you some random stuff sometimes. And this thing will comb through your emails, tease out exactly what you're looking for, and give you a report on all that stuff. And so I've seen where I've used it to generate reports off of like long projects that have been going on for over a year. And I say, hey, give me a timeline of what's been going on with this project, and look in my Google Drive to see any backup documentation you may need. And so it goes through my Gmail, goes through my Google Drive, and then generates a report automatically. And I think some of the things, and I think we've said this before, are it's hard to even measure the time. I think everyone wants to measure like how many hours did it save you. Some of the hours that it saves you like can't be measured because there's something you would never do because it would take so much time, and you just kick the can down the road and you're never going to do it. And so the fact that it's accomplishing projects that you may never have gotten around to is the mind-blowing part for me, because you feel even more productive than ever. And so Cowork, I think, is for anyone who's already used to chat, I think Cowork is the next progression. It's the next step, because now it's doing things for you versus just talking to you.
Yeah, and it actually does save you money depending on the project that you're working on. Because like even the example that you gave, right? The easy thing to do would have been for you to drive to Best Buy, pick up a hard drive, come back, download that video file, and just say, I will deal with the fact that I have no storage on my computer another day. And that's
Yeah.
going to take time, that's going to take money. Hard drives are not getting any cheaper. So kind of using it for something like that, like cleaning up your computer and finding space so that you can save a file, like those are real tangible savings in terms of dollars that's available. The one thing that I did think about, as we're talking with Cowork is that, and I know both of you and I are on Macs. I do have two PCs, but I don't use them that much. But I know that the latest thing with PC is Copilot, which is like Microsoft's version of Cowork, which kind of can, I've heard good things about it. It can kind of scan your system and it can understand your operating system. But Cowork is essentially that for any computer, any device. So any device that it sits on, it has those same capabilities, but it doesn't come with a lot of the bloat that something like Microsoft Copilot might come with. So
Yeah.
it's probably better than Copilot, to say the least. But it's definitely worth checking out. And I think anyone that tries it out will quickly find like a use case for it.
I think to wrap things up, why don't we say like one challenge, right? One challenge for whoever's watching these videos. Like how would you challenge them to get started with Cowork?
It'll take me a while. We'll edit this part out. But hmm, don't do the email thing. Don't just use it for email, I would say.
I think.
Okay,
Go
I'll go
ahead.
for it. That I think is really useful when it comes to Cowork is because it lives on your computer. Any documents that you have on your computer are accessible to Claude. And so you can throw it a couple spreadsheets, you can throw it a whole folder full of Word docs. You can, if you have like an RFP that you've been working on, you can say, hey, here are all of my RFPs. Can you um, tell me how I can improve these, or can you make a template for me so that I can recreate these next time, or you recreate it. It can actually do that too. So you can tell it, hey, read this spreadsheet, read this Word doc, and I want you to do this thing for me, this task for me, and I want it to look exactly like these other ones that you already see, that maybe the company provided you or you hired a designer to build or whatever. Cowork can go in there and it can make it look exactly the same. And so I would challenge people the next time you need to work on a document and it's local, especially if you use Excel or Microsoft Office, this would be a great time to actually put it to use and see what you can do with it.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us for another episode. I hope you learned a little bit about Cowork and take the next step. I think the biggest thing is a lot of people right now are just waiting on the sidelines, and they hear about these tools and it's easy to think, well, let me master ChatGPT first, or let me master, what I'm doing right now. But once you unlock these things, you're unlocking your time, you're unlocking your efficiency. And so it just takes a little bit of effort, 5, 10, 20 minutes, and you'll see how easy it is. And you'll just start increasing your efficiency. And so thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right.